welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind on this Tuesday afternoon. As per usual, I'm your host Declan McConville, and I'm joined by Patrick McGilp and Lawrence Connolly. It would be remiss of us to start the bulletin today without mentioning the sad passing of Walter Smith, who's passed away, whose death's been announced today. Walter, obviously a rival in the football context, but somebody who bridged the divide, a good friend of Tommy Burns. Obviously that image of Walter and Ally McCoist carrying Tommy in his last journey is something very poignant to a lot of Celtic fans, and something that was applauded that very day in the church. Personally, I met Walter a couple of times. One time particularly in a pub in the city centre. Himself and Ally McCoist, as per usual, were going to one of their charity events. He was a great supporter of many different charities. Walter Smith, I think that's testament from John Robertson's tweet today, who said he went along to every single one of his charity balls. And the two of them were in, they were having a drink, and we get chatting. We ended up talking about Tommy Burns. I get my wee dig back at Walter Smith. I said, you caused me a lot of misery when I was growing up at first. I says, but we're getting you back right now. But he took it all in good humour, and we had a good chat about Tommy, and both of them are really top men, really nice guys. So that's my thoughts on Walter Smith, and obviously everyone at ACSOM extends our deepest sympathies to all of Walter's family and his friends. Lawrence, obviously you'll be a bit more well versed than me and Patrick, since you missed those. Well, thankfully we missed those years of dominance and success by Walter Smith's team. But I'm sure it caused you a lot of days in the dumps. But sad news today.
Yeah, but as you said, anytime you met him, absolute gentleman. A school friend of mine, Canon Thomas White, he was actually a neighbour of his in Carmyle, and Thomas couldn't speak highly enough of him either. I think, I've never heard anyone with a bad word to say about him. So condolences to his family and the wider range of support.
Patrick, just your thoughts on the sad news. Again, as I say, obviously me and you probably can remember a short spell of success. Obviously took Rangers to a European final in 2008, but it's a big loss to Scottish football, because of course he was in charge of the national team. Actually, probably one of the first memories for us, and that cracking win over the world champions France with that worldie from James McFadden.
Yeah, I don't know about yourself, but I'm not old enough to remember, or I can't remember him ever being in charge. I didn't follow football at the time. I was only 9 or 10.
There's a lot of misery at that time. Yeah.
Very unfortunate for you. But obviously, no, a massively successful manager, Scottish football legend, and Rangers fans will be able to comment better than me, but probably their most successful ever manager in terms of the amount of stuff he won in the space of time he was there. So, a very sad loss, and commiserations, obviously. Yes, and I think Frank McAvenny, our former strikers, a lot of former Celtic players commented already on Twitter. Murdo McLeod, I think somebody who went along to a lot of events with Walter Smith being one. But I think Frank McAvenny summed it up perfectly when he said if you met Walter, you liked him, and it was as simple as that. And I think that was the case, and he did bridge the divide well with Celtic supporters, and was a great figure through that sad loss of Tommy Burns in 2008. So all of us here at ACSOM wish the Smith family our deepest condolences. As well as that, over the weekend, obviously the sad news broke that Wim Jansen, our former manager, somebody who would have been a competitor of Walter Smith, is very sadly suffering with dementia. Again, Lawrence, you'll be a lot better well versed than me and Patrick on this. I mean, the distinctiveness of Wim with his curly hair is something that me and Patrick probably well know about. But for yourself, one season, but a season that meant a hell of a lot to a lot of Celtic fans.
Yeah, I mean, the first manager we recruited from Japan, wasn't it? Listen, ups and downs that season, but we eventually got over the line. Obviously, Falconbridge in the second last game, getting the equaliser up at Dunfermline. But you'll see him in the 78 World Cup. I think he's one of the boys Archie Gemmell beats on that run. So, a bit of player in his own right. But him and his number 2, who you've already spoke about, Murdo McLeod, they certainly delivered. And obviously, Celtic being Celtic at that time, there was a fallout between the board and manager. And unfortunately, it was only one season for him.
Patrick, again, it's sad news that former manager, and so many that we've lost recently. Billy McNeil, Stevie Chalmers, Charlie Gallagher have all suffered from this terrible illness, and hopefully, as the days and months and years go past, there can be something done about this.
Yeah, it's something that, Chris Sutton as well has been highlighting, the link between dementia and football players heading the ball in particular. It's just, I think the football authorities have actually known about this a lot longer than the public have, and they've not really been doing much about it. So it's criminal in that sense, but obviously best wishes to Wim Jansen, and what a manager he was for the first season. I don't remember the Falcon. Was it Falconbridge you were saying there, Lawrence? I don't remember it personally.
Listen, one up, Simon Donnelly put his one up. Simon will tell you this. He always says Craig Falconbridge stole his place as the man that stopped the 10. Because second half, he just started sitting deeper and deeper. They only needed 1-1 for the last 2 games. 2 draws was going to be no good. And Falcon ball into the box and up went for. I was in Dunfermline then for that game. I think about another 8 or 10,000 Celtic fans, but and scored. But then it was back to paradise to Wim's signing. He knew a striker, didn't he? And Larson opened against St Johnstone, and Harold, Tommy Boyd, charging down a wing and a cross for Harold to tuck it away and just put it beyond doubt, because at 1-0, George Boyle missed a cracking chance for St Johnstone. He would have stopped it, but he loved a 1-0 ahead, Wim Jansen, and that was almost his downfall at Dunfermline that day. Yeah, listen, and there was also kind of the bad start to the season. A few parallels with this season. It was a really obviously against Hibs, Charnley, Larson giving the ball away. McNeese Showbar, I didn't get a ticket for that game. I was in McNeese Showbar, which is long since gone. But there were a few we scraped through, but he built a decent team, but buying Darren Jackson certainly helped that team. He was a good link of the team for us. For it, but no better signing than Larson, let's be honest.
No, definitely not.
No, definitely not. You touched on there that he built a decent team. Obviously, that post-McCann takeover, Celtic were a bit hit and miss. Obviously, they get the cut back to Celtic Park, stop to 10. Dr. Joe comes in, but one of the guys, and it was a good link that Patrick says there, and Chris Sutton, that we saw appearing over the weekend. It was good to see him looking well. With John Robertson standing alongside Chris Sutton, I think Chris was trying to be cheeky when he said 2 European Cups between us. That's the 2 for Robbo, not Big Chris. But of course, when John came in with Martin, it was a period of real success there for Celtic. It was obviously nice to see that image of Robbo. Lawrence, one of the questions Chris Sutton asked on that one was, in today's modern market, much would you be talking for a guy like John Robertson?
Oh, the wee fat guy, one of the 3 wingers from View Park, Johnston, Doyle and Robertson. A guy that wins you 2 European Cups, it's got to be up towards 70-80 million quid, isn't it? There's no doubt in that. He was outstanding for Forest. I mean, Brian Clough, what a manager, revolution, one of the guys that revolutionised football management, and if he's telling you he's the best guy in his team, you've got to listen to him, haven't you? It's and he's telling the rest of the team, just give him the ball, just give it to the wee fat lad. So I think upwards of 70-80 million, conservatively.
Yeah, I think it would go for, I don't think anything too far off that, or even more, especially when you consider some of the other players that went for 78 million. That includes a captain that lets in 5 goals at the weekend for an English club that I've quite like. But Patrick, on John Robertson, obviously pitched alongside Chris Sutton. 2 absolutely massive figures. It can't be underestimated how much their importance were to that Martin O'Neill side for those 4 or 5 years that they were there.
No, definitely not. And what a player Chris Sutton was. I think he gave an interview and he was talking just how vital John Robertson was to Martin O'Neill, and he sort of speculated that that's why O'Neill didn't get on so well at Sunderland, because he didn't take John Robertson with him. And my dad, my uncles, and everyone in my family they talk dead highly of Larson and Sutton and Martin O'Neill, but they always make sure to mention Steve Walford and John Robertson, how vital they were, because they were the ones sort of taking training and being daily contact with the players and all that. Not that Martin O'Neill wasn't, but vitally important players in what was such a successful era.
Absolutely, important to have guys like that around the dressing room, and guys that have been winners. But we'll go right back to Saturday's win against St Johnstone. It's all links today. St Johnstone, talking about Wim Jansen and stuff. It's all coming together.
It's all fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is fun. So back to St Johnstone. Obviously, we've not been on since the victory at the weekend. Again, we'll do what we do. We'll just work through the team, talk about a lot of the guys in the team and what we thought. So something I'm going to come over to you, Patrick. First on it is Carl Starfelt. He's been a player that I think, has had a bit of a hard time since he's came in from a lot of Celtic fans, deservedly so at times. He's not looked as comfortable as maybe we'd like. But both, I think, him now and Vickers have got the best defensive record. Well, not just those two, but Celtic as a defence have got one of the best defensive records, if not the best in the league. Not bad for a kamikaze outfit. In terms of the two of them at this point in time, two of them look solid and look very comfortable, don't they?
They do. It's just another clean sheet, isn't it? Ferencváros and St Johnstone, and hopefully another one at Hibs as well. But yeah, I think, as you say, the criticism was fair for Carl Starfelt earlier in the season. He scored that brilliant own goal for AZ Alkmaar. I think he made a few mistakes before that as well. And I've always said that he doesn't look that comfortable on the ball. But, he is a centre-half playing in the Scottish League, albeit by far and away the best Scottish team in the league. But we're not going to get, Sergio Ramos-type players playing for Celtic, not for a few years at least anyway. So you can't expect guys at the back to be totally comfortable in the ball, but he does the basic stuff well. And, as Ange said, he doesn't get too excited about clean sheets, but we're not even conceding chances, and that is the main thing. And, you can't concede a goal if you don't concede a chance. So if we keep doing what we're doing, limiting chances, we're not going to concede any more goals. And Starfelt and Carter Vickers are doing that really well with the new partnership they've struck up.
Yeah, Lawrence, I think possibly it was just a case of giving Starfelt that bit of time just to kind of settle into Celtic. Obviously, he got thrown in at the deep end at Tynecastle, and I think we're a million miles away from that opening day defeat at Tynecastle to where we are at this moment in time. But has it just been a case he's had to just settle into that Celtic team, and we're now seeing what we've spent £4 million on? Because going on the weekend's performance, I think Man United would rather that Swede at the back than Lindelof playing in there.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, I think time's a lot to do with it. Knowing who he's playing beside helps that, your centre-halves need a partnership. He still looks a bit awkward, possibly because he's a right-handed centre-half playing on the left-hand side of the defence. So sometimes I think when he plays a ball with his left foot, it just doesn't look as natural as when he plays it with his right. But listen, he's winning headers, interceptions, tackles. His pass completion rate's good. So you can now see why we paid the money for him. And if you're playing, the only other left-hand sided centre-back, the only left-hand sided centre-back we've got is Liam Scales. So it looks like that's where we're going to play Starfelt long term. And I think can Carter Vickers keep his place if Julian gets back to speed?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in that. We're on Vickers. Patrick, if there is that opportunity there, come May time, June time, obviously we've still got a long way to go in this season, but if Vickers keeps putting in performances that he's been putting in at this time, surely the question's got to be asked, because something that Celtic's lacked for a long time, even under a very successful spell a few years ago, was real depth in that position, and we relied on bringing midfield players obviously into centre half. Surely the question's got to be asked if he keeps up these sort of performances, Vickers.
100%, and I'd probably ask it in January as opposed to May, the same with Jota, because, as you're saying about the lack of depth, we seem to consistently play Beaton in qualifiers in July, and, no disrespect to Beaton, he's a decent squad player, decent for squad depth, but he's definitely not a starting centre-half for Celtic in Celtic's most important games of the season. So if you can have guys like Starfelt and Welsh settled in the team and bring in Carter Vickers in January, then you've got three centre-halves of a decent quality going into the qualifiers and having played together for a full year as well, and you'll have Julian back as well by that point as well. So I think you need to prepare for these qualifiers early. That's if we have them, I suppose, because
yep.
You go straight into the group stages if you win the league this season. But, regardless of all of that, you need to have squad depth, and we've not had that for a long time, probably since Brendan Rodgers' first two seasons. when we had Sviatchenko, Kolo Toure, Simunovic and Boyata. But yeah, he's definitely a great player. And what I'd also like to say is when he was when he allegedly fouled Chris Kane by getting punched in the face, all the players immediately ran over to support him. And I don't know if that's Carter Vickers, whether it's Ange, but I think that's been something that's been missing for quite a few years at Celtic, and it's good to see that back. Players willing to, not have a scrap, but get stuck in and defend their teammates.
Yeah, 100%. Lawrence, throw that one over to you. One of the things that really frustrated me at Pittodrie was the Ramsey challenge. I think it was on Kyogo and nobody went over. Everybody just left it. I think you've really seen a real good togetherness now at Celtic that maybe was just missing it at times. Obviously, there was a lot of big characters lost in the summer, but we've brought in guys like Joe Hart, who seems to be a real important figure in there at this moment in time. McGregor just seems to be, easing into that captaincy every single week. And then you're seeing the celebrations at the end at Fir Park and against Ferencvaros. This is a close-knit group that obviously have belief in themselves, but belief in their manager. Yeah,
definitely. Listen, it takes a while to foster team spirit. The number of players we lost, it was always going to take a bit of time. It's good to see, that it's back, as Patrick said, that they're in there, defending the players. But, you'd have thought putting a bit of pressure on the ref, drawing attention to the fact, listen, he's just kicked him twice and punched him. But obviously Mr. Walsh thinks that's a yellow card offence. On the centre half, the one you missed out, Patrick, young Dane Murray done well at the beginning of the season as well. So I don't know if we can maybe get him out, on loan for 6 months and maybe, we are getting real depth at centre half now. Could do be another left-hand sided centre half probably. It's just more natural. But the team spirit just takes a while, doesn't it? And maybe that's what we're benefiting from now. Angie's plans coming together. Trust the process. He's done it in numerous clubs. So, he's definitely a guy who knows what he's doing.
Yeah, we'll touch on Nick Walsh because I think it's important to touch on that, especially not just in the context of what Patrick was saying, but just in terms of letting the flow of the game going and coming off the back of it was a fairly decent refereeing performance on Tuesday, a decent standard of refereeing performance in Europe on Tuesday, back to the SPFL and back to inconsistencies and total incompetence. But the guy who's been in and out the Celtic team due to injury and whatnot, who was played out of position again at the weekend, Josip Juranovic, he's got a cracking penalty. I think it's now time, whenever Ange feels ready, that he's got a left back there that he can, properly trust, and he's going to nail him down to let Juranovic do his thing at right back. And that's no disrespect to Tony Ralston, but I think, the money that we've spent on him, Patrick, it's time to let him do his stuff at right back. And he looks like he will be an important player for us.
Yeah, I mean, he's Croatia's first choice right back. We spent £2.5 million on him. I think he's an experienced player. He's played a few seasons in Poland. Just as good, if not better, a league than Scotland. And I think going forward, he's probably better than Ralston. That's not me having a go at Ralston. Ralston's a perfectly capable defensive. The defensive side of his game is absolutely fine. I think he made an important challenge against. I think it was Ferencvaros.
It was a Starfelt mistake.
And he put the afterburners on. He was absolutely rapid getting to the ball. But I think his crossing leaves a lot to be desired, personally. He makes the right runs, he gets into the right areas, but the final ball I don't think is there. And just going forward, Ange's brought him on leaps and bounds, but, every player has a ceiling. And even then, I think Juranovic just sort of naturally is a better player. And I think you've got to play your best players in their preferred positions. I think you touched on it there. He's probably doing it because he doesn't have a settled left back. I think he wanted to try out Bolly, but he can't really play Bolly consistently because he's not in the European squad. Taylor injured. I don't know what's up with Scales, whether it's a fitness issue. And then Montgomery, took a knock and didn't have the best of games against Ferencvaros, I don't think. So, it's just a matter of getting a settled left back, and I think we probably will see Juranovic at right back going forward if everyone can stay fit.
Yeah, somebody's questioning, but you're saying Tony Ralston there. Danielle's come in the comments asking, did they not get an assist at the weekend?
Oh, I've been caught out there. I have. He did get an assist. Another assist.
Another assist, Lawrence, and it is another assist. And as Patrick says, that his defensive game looks perfectly fine. I think he is. I would agree with Patrick. He's a bit limited in terms of his final ball, but he's not let us down one bit this season. It probably would be harsh to take him out of the team if the manager does feel he's quite comfortable playing Juranovic at left back. But what is your thoughts on this? Do we stick with the same two tomorrow night at Easter Road? Or do we, chop and change it again? Do we bring Bolingoli in at left back and drop Juranovic or drop Ralston? What's your thoughts on it? What do you think the manager will do?
Listen, if Taylor was that, I think Juranovic would be playing right back. I think he is a better player than Ralston. It'd be hard to drop Tony, but I think Juranovic is just a level above him. But remember, Tony's only 22. He's come through the ranks. It's not a lot of football. Callum didn't kick on to kind of 23, 24. So, there's still potential for him to progress. I think left back's something we'll look to sign in the transfer window, because we do need to get that sorted out. But at Easter Road, I think he's going to stick the same. Even though Juranovic does well at left back, I still think they look a wee bit unbalanced. It's not as balanced as it looks as when we've got a natural left back and Taylor in there, who's also another boy who gets a bit of stick but throws in the assists. So I think tomorrow night is I wouldn't change it. I'd have Juranovic and Tony Ralston. But it'll be good, when the two of them are fighting it out. It's good to have competition at right back. It's something, obviously Ange's come in and identified their weakness. He's brought Juranovic to solve that weakness. But I think Tony Ralston has surprised everybody this season.
Yeah, he has surprised everybody this season, and there's obviously chat around a new contract as well, and that's one thing I think we should absolutely do, is tie him down on a new contract. I think any Celtic fan, he's proved every Celtic fan wrong that question him, and I would totally agree, Lawrence, that there probably is a wee bit more to come from him, and somebody like Josip Juranovic in there beside him should only help him learn both sides of the game. But I think, coming from the comments in here, it would be harsh to drop Ralston for his performances. He gives us 100% every game. But again, it's what's going to be best for the team, and it was what's going to win football matches, and that's why the manager will be ruthless. But again, Bolingoli left out the squad. I don't think he was even on the bench on Saturday there, Patrick. What is it with him? Do we just drop him in when we need him, or do you see him getting any type of run of games in the team? It just seems a bit strange to me.
It's rather odd. Obviously couldn't be involved against Ferencváros for squad reasons. Well, I don't know whether he just sort of picked up a knock in training and the manager's forgotten to mention it in a press conference or something. That seems to be the only logical explanation to me, because he had a good game against Motherwell. I thought. I don't think he was exceptional, but he didn't make any mistakes. So it's a question. Why isn't he in the squad? I'm sure Ange will have his own ways of working, of thinking. He'll have his own explanations, and I'm hoping that we'll see a left back at left back tomorrow night, because we've technically got four options there, and I'd like to see one of them used. Obviously, can't use Taylor; he's injured. But as you know, I'm not a massive fan of playing players at a position. So I'd quite like, Montgomery, Scales or Bolly to start tomorrow night.
Lawrence, on this comment from Paulie, he's talking about, the massive fixture list that we've got. Not to frighten people, but we're only probably 2 weeks away again from another international break. You'd imagine Juranovic will go away with Croatia as well. There should be enough minutes to keep both happy. Is it just a case of rotation? But in terms of those two, switch them about at right back, and as Patrick says, they'll play players in their natural position.
Listen, there's definitely enough minutes, and if one gets injured, you're not worried about the backup now. Whether you see Tony as the backup or Juranovic as a backup, you're kind of fairly happy we're covered at right back. But I think Juranovic will play left back because he's our second best left back at the club, even though he's a right back. I think that just kind of speaks to the qualities of Montgomery, Bolly, and Scales more than anything else. And I know Montgomery's done well. He's a young boy. He's got a lot of time to improve. But I think Bolly's fourth or fifth choice left back. I'd be surprised if we weren't trying to move him on.
Possibly. It could be that we're just putting them in the short window for a move away in January. That could be a possibility, because but we've got, was it 4 players? Did you say there, Patrick, in that position? You won't be able to accommodate 4 players.
Fifth if you include Jovanovic, I think, but I don't want to include him.
No. So you're not going to be able to completely keep everybody happy there. So again, we'll see what happens when January rolls round. But yes, to move away from defence, up top, we saw Georgios Giakoumakis make his debut for Celtic, starting up top at the weekend. Obviously, he bagged a goal, great goal. Been reminded about that Ralston assist. That wasn't the easiest of finishes for Giakoumakis with the amount of power that was in the assist, but he placed it away well. But I think one of the concerns for maybe a lot of Celtic fans is Kyogo not playing through the middle. Just looks a bit wasted. He's still, he'll track back, he'll do his running, but to throw us one to you, Patrick, I think the only way that we can really properly execute Kyogo in games is if we play him through the middle. So what do you think that then means for Giakoumakis? Does it change of shape, or do you see it whenever Giakoumakis gets the game, the Kyogo will be played in the left, and effectively you're not playing him in his best position, which is something the manager harked back to and when we played at Ibrox, not playing him through the middle?
I think it's important to remember that we played, I think it was 6 qualifying games this season, and if you get to both cup finals, that's 9 cup games, along with 6 group stage games and 30 league games. So you're playing upwards of 50 games a season, and Kyogo can't play every single one of them. So Giakoumakis will definitely get game time, and he'll probably start 10-15 games at least. I agree with you that Kyogo is wasted out on the right. I was sort of thinking about why is he playing him there, but
do you think he could grow into that position though? Because it is only the first time I've saw them obviously play up together, or do you just think he's just far better suited to play into the middle?
I'd prefer it if he didn't go into that position, to be honest, because I'd quite like him up front. Because the movement off the ball, the runs in behind, the goals that he gets, it's pretty unbelievable. And he played out left at Ibrox, he's played out right on Saturday there, and I just don't think he get involved in the game. I think he finds it difficult to get involved in the game. I just think he's the starting striker, and Giakoumakis, has to earn his place, earn his starts. He'll probably come on as a substitute, 60th or 70th minute most games, or if we're needing a goal, we might come on, for a cross or holding up the play. But no, he'll get game time, but I think Kyogo's the number one striker.
Lawrence, what's your thoughts on this? Is it a case of bide our time with Kyogo out on the wing, or is it revert back to what we've been doing and it's worked so well for us, and let Giakoumakis come in and prove himself for us off the bench? And obviously, as Patrick's saying, some games that you will rotate due to the amount of fixtures that we've got, see what he's like then.
We can't really know that kind of Kyogo's only had half a season at centre forward before joining us. He was a winger, so maybe part of it is he's not used to playing out in the wing. He would need to grow into it and understand who's behind and who's supporting him. But he's got some record as a centre forward for us. So for me, he is your number one centre forward. But it's great that we've now got competition, because when he was out earlier injured, it really hampered us. That we didn't have someone that could step in. Giakoumakis, it looks like a boy who knows where the back of the net is. He gives us something different. I thought the St Johnstone defence looked really unsettled with his physicality in there. You've touched on it. We do put a lot of crosses into the box, and now it looks like we've got somebody that can do something with them and get on the end of them.
Patrick, as Kenny's come in the comments and just said that Kyogo is effective out there, as Lawrence has said there. He's played as a winger quite a lot in Japan, so it looks as if it might be the case that he will be played out there for the foreseeable. But Giakoumakis, again, we've not been on. We were on last week just before the game against Ferencváros. Right away when he came on, he just looked at a breath of fresh air and somebody that would give us something absolutely different. Obviously, we saw him in flashes at Fir Park, but in terms of his effectiveness when he came on against Ferencváros, will certainly give us something a lot different that we don't get from Albion Ajeti. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you don't get much from Albion Ajeti, really, do you? So, you've got a height, you've got a physicality. I think his first touch is a lot better. I thought Ajeti would be good at winning fouls, but Giakoumakis, certainly when he came on against Ferencváros, is pretty good at winning fouls on the halfway line late in the game, Just to go back to Kyogo, we've got Abada, Forrest and Karamoko on the right wing, and you've got Jota and Mikey Johnson on the left wing. So I'm just not a fan of moving our top goal scorer and arguably our best player this season out of his preferred position But if you were to do it, I wouldn't be playing him in the right wing. I'd be playing him in the left wing, because Mikey Johnson's just coming back from injury, and you're getting to the stage where I think Jota will probably need to sit a game out for a rest or something, because as much as he's on form, he's going to have to take a rest eventually. Not only that, I think we all seen the links 2 or 3 days ago to, I think it is Maeda, the Japanese winger, the fastest player in Japan by a good distance. So if we're allegedly signing him for $1 million or 2 million, which I think we are, you're going to have 4 right wingers. So I don't think there's any need for Kyle going the right wing, personally.
Yeah, one of those wingers, obviously, Karamoko Dembele, who we saw a photograph of last week. Hopefully we can get him back to fitness. A horrendous challenge in a pre-season game from Palmer on Karamoko. And again, this could have been his season that he breaks through, but hopefully we'll get back into the squad at some point this season, and maybe we can see him again. But in terms of wingers, Lawrence, I think it's important to touch on Mikey Johnson. Made his return, I think, for part was his return in a Celtic jersey from injury. He came on against Ferencvaros and looked, a breath of fresh air again. He was very, very flary. He was going at defenders, and again at the weekend he looked good when he came on. Is possibly next Saturday, looking away from Easter Road against Livingston at Celtic Park, a good chance to give Mikey Johnson a game, and maybe, as Patrick says, Jota a rest, because we don't know, obviously, but we've given Abada a rest at the weekend. We could possibly see his return tomorrow night at Easter Road, but is it Mikey Johnson's chance to get back into the Celtic team? Because he looks to me as if he's on game. And just quickly before we come to your selling this, he's been praising Anton McElhone in the press during the week, saying that he's did a lot for him since he's come in, which is great to hear, because I do imagine that if McElhone's having that effect on Mikey Johnson, he's having it in other players, the other injured players and uninjured players.
Yeah, listen, just touch quickly on Dembele. The problem is we need to get him to sign a contract, I think, because he can speak to other clubs in January. Ready stuff in it, praising Anton. He also praised Joe Hart, helping him return from injury. He's definitely looked good, but the last 2 seasons have more or less been write-offs for him. I think, although he's on the left wing, he's got between now and the January transfer window to kind of prove that he can do it, or else I think we'd be in the market for another left winger. I'm not too sure I'd give Jota a rest. I don't think he's went off the boil. I think Abada went off the boil, and maybe that's kind of why he got a rest. Jota seems to be thriving game in game. He just seems to be getting better and better. I mean, when Mikey came on at the weekend, he was really unlucky not to score. He made that yard of space in the box for himself. He curls one in. As you see, he's taking players on and beating them. He's another boy that's come through the club. More or less, he's the same age as Jota, isn't he? So, he's a guy that can improve. And we've got a manager that's got a reputation of developing young players. So it's all made for him to kind of do it in the next couple of months before the transfer window opens. If he's not starting, I would expect to see him coming on and seeing what he can do. See if he can change a game, because he's definitely got a trick or two in him. He knows how to beat a guy. The last 2 seasons have been right off, but the previous 2 seasons it was kind of a goal every 4 games or so, wasn't it? It was scoring for the previous 2. So there's definitely a player in there, but I think he needs to prove he can do it at this level for us now. We can get back to that after having 2 horrendous seasons with injury.
Patrick, again, he's another option. It was options that we were badly lacking the pre-international break, when we just didn't really have anything to come off the bench and change games. So it's great to have players like that can come on and impact games. But again, that ties in with the manager. Again, I thought it was a very controlled performance at the weekend. St Johnstone never looked as if they would score. Callum Davidson obviously set his team up to come and be hard to break down. It was, for large parts of the game, 10 men behind the ball. They weren't leaving guys up and whatnot. But in terms of how we've approached the past 3 games, it's 9 out of 9. Obviously 2 in the league and 1 in the Europa League. Was this how it was always meant to be? Just a complete, dominance and display. And everybody spoke about Ange Ball as free flowing and going at teams. But I think in the last 3 games, if we play like that for the rest of the season, I'll be more than happy.
Yeah, I think people are probably expecting 5-2, 6-3, 3-1 and all that. But what Ange said, if we can get the defence right, what he wants isn't necessarily clean sheets, but something behind that explains the clean sheets, and that's limiting chances for the opposition. And I thought we'd done that. I think St Johnstone I think they only had one shot on target, if any at all. I don't think they had a shot on
Man
target.
on target. Joe Hart, nothing to do, and still made some pundits team of the week. So a goalkeeper without any saves to make makes the team of the week. You've got to wonder about these pundits, haven't you? You're kind of going. Whereas Xander Clark, you could have seen him being in team of the week. You know, he's a decent big keeper. Made quite a few saves.
Yes, and can score for a corner as well. You know.
Tell me about
that. But as you were saying as well, Lawrence, you know, I think Mikey Johnson hit the post. He knows how to beat a man, and he played a wonderful ball through for Jota, which we haven't, you know, spoken about against Ferencvaros. You know, Jota probably should have scored, made it 3-0. So yeah, another good option, and I mean, if we can play against that, like that against Hibs, I don't think Hibs had a shot on target against Aberdeen on Saturday. I could be wrong. I know they didn't score. But, you know, I think that's 2 games in a row now. Hibs have failed to score. So, you know, if we're limiting chances and they're struggling for goals, it only bodes well, you know. So I think if we put in a good performance and play our best players, you know, hopefully Abad is rested and Kyogo's rested, and not rested, but can go back into the middle. You know, just hopefully another 2-0 victory.
Yes, Kevin Graham, who was obviously one of our other contributors, just came in the comments. Hope Kev's well. He said that Ange said that he didn't bother with defences, as if he played the way he wanted, we wouldn't give up chances. That is what's happening at this moment in time, Lawrence. It's as if, you know, everything that we were maybe doing pre the international break there just wasn't executing his game plan effectively, but now we are. We're not giving up those chances, so really, in terms of defending, it's just something we don't need to worry about because we go forward so well. And again, we've not been on since last week. Jota, absolutely tremendous last week, and he's again at the weekend, fantastic performance. He's such a joy to watch at this moment in time. But in terms of what Patrick's saying there, is it just a case of, you know, we've found a rhythm now and we can just rock on from here?
I think so, you know, that I'm now understanding, I think, what Ange wants, where they should be in the park, and what his vision is as a whole. And the team are getting used to their roles and how to perform them better. We're also getting a lot of players back for injury, which has given us options now that we didn't have. But, you know, we can freshen things up. We've got dangerous players we can bring off the bench, which also helps. Long time since we won at Easter Road. You know, I know you've been looking up a few anniversaries, kind of 10, 20 years ago, whatever. We've had big wins on the same date. But, you know, if we win tomorrow night at Easter Road, I think that's a huge sign for us. Maybe catching Hibs at the right side, you know. They've had 3 losses. We've had 3 wins. So, yeah, we could be catching them at the right time.
We could be catching them at the right time. So we'll move right on to Hibs. Patrick, last season, Hibs is one of my bad memories of deepest, darkest lockdowns in November, having to pay for the old pay-per-view game. And it was heading towards another defeat in that very bleak run of miserable, was it 12? 2-12 or 2-14 or something? I can't remember.
2-12, I think it was.
2-12, I don't want to remember.
1-11 if you discount the semi-final from the season before.
Laxalt popped up at the 91st minute with a goal in that 2-each draw. And then after the COVID debacle in the January, after a great free kick from David Turnbull, Nisbet popped up at the very end at Celtic Park in the 91st minute. So we played 4 against Hibs last season. We won one of the games, one of the better performances last season, and beat them 3-0 at Celtic Park in September, and we drew the other 3. The last time we played Hibs, the starting 11, sorry if anybody gets any PTSD flashbacks here, was Barkas, Kenny, Ayer, Welsh, Taylor, Brown, McGregor, Christie, Turnbull, Elanusi, Edward. Probably tomorrow night, only 2 of those players will start. I'd imagine that'd be McGregor and Turnbull. What's your expectations for this game? Because it's a place that we've failed to win at in the league since 2014. One of the things I'm worried about that, you know, the manager spoke about with Livingston was the players buying into the mindset that this was a difficult place to go to. It's somewhere that they don't do well at. How does he get over that barrier? And we go into this in a lot better place than maybe we're going into that Livingston game, and that mindset was just keeping in a bit too much.
Well, I think it's much like the Livingston game, really, because it's a tough place to go, but we should definitely be winning the game of football. Because if we play our usual game, or if we play above our usual game, 9 times out of 10 we should win the game. Arguably 99 times out of 100 we should win the game. But it's these four grounds, isn't it? Tynecastle, the Spaghetti Had, Ibrox, and Easter Road. We've really, really struggled the last 3 seasons. So the expectation is always to win the game when you're a Celtic fan, especially playing in the league. But I think it has come at the right time. What Lawrence said, they're a side that never mind getting a win, they can't get a goal, and we're keeping clean sheets. We're scoring goals. We're winning 2-0 comfortably. So yeah, I expect us to win the game.
Yeah, I hope we win the game. I'm making the journey through. 10 Celtic fans that are making the journey through, check out what John Paul's been saying on Twitter. I think there's a bit of a disaster with roadworks, etc. And obviously there's going to be the vaccine passport checks as well at the stadium. So give yourself plenty of time to get to Easter Road tomorrow night. But Lawrence, in terms of that starting 11 that I read through there, we're going to go there with probably 9 fresh players that either haven't played at Easter Road, probably haven't played at Easter Road with the players that we've got in the team. Ralston, maybe, if he does start, might be one who's maybe played there in youth games or something. Or maybe, don't think even featuring the Brendan Rodgers there. So, going to Easter Road, what's your expectations for this game? Because as you pointed out, it's 0-9 for Hibs, but it's 9-9 for the Tick.
So when you touched that, how do we get the mindset right? And that probably comes from winning games. So I think, the team's going to have a bit of confidence now. We've won away at Pittodrie. We're built on that. We're getting 2-0 wins. We're certainly tight at the back. We're scoring goals. We've got options. So I think the team should be going there in good spirits. Probably part of the mindset thing is maybe Ralston played under Dundee United or St Johnstone there, but there is fresh players. They haven't struggled at Easter Road, if you know what I mean. So that shouldn't be really in their mindset because it's the first time they've played there. You would hope, they're going in off the back of, going in on a winning streak. They're facing a team that's lost the last 3, as Patrick said, struggling for goals. But it looks like they're getting things right on the park now. So I'm expecting us to win. Yeah, I think it's going to be a return to more goals, just at the form that Hibs are in. So I'm going to go like 4-1, 4-0, I think.
Oof. Lawrence, four goals at Easter Road. It'd be a good night out for me if we do that.
Well,
but Patrick,
it's because of the date, mate. 10 years ago we scored 4, 20 years ago we scored 4 on the same day at Easter Road on both occasions.
And also today is the anniversary of the League Cup final of 74, 6-3. Joe Harper obviously scored a hat-trick that day, but was in the losing side because the other man scored a hat-trick in green and white hoops. Dixie Deans made it 2 hat-tricks in a space of about a week against Hibs, and would follow. I don't think any Hibs fans have probably got good memories of Dixie Deans and green and white hoops because he just seemed to bang the goals past them. Hopefully something that our striker can do tomorrow night. But Patrick, as a fresh start for Celtic in this, we go into this game having won the past 3 games, having played very well in the past 3 games. What's your expectations? Because I think it still will be tough. It's a tough venue to go to. But if we can go Easter Road and win the game, what does that say about this Celtic side? Because like many other Celtic sides who've went on to be successful, I'm including Brendan Rodgers in this, have still struggled at that stadium.
They have, and it's just another monkey off the back. We're desperate for an away win up until that Aberdeen game, and I think we said on here that I certainly thought to myself, after the Aberdeen win, you've got to win at Fir Park against Motherwell, because otherwise, Aberdeen's is a one-off, especially when you're going to Easter Road a week and a half later. So I think the Motherwell game is really important as well. 3 away wins in a row would be brilliant. Winning at Easter Road for the first time since 2014 in the league would be brilliant. And if we play the way that we're playing, it's just another confidence booster, and it should be a routine victory. And I suppose another thing that sort of plays in our favour is that Jack Ross can't seem to win big games. Sunderland and Hibs, he can't win big games. It's a massive flaw of his. So Celtic's a big game for Hibs. So hopefully, I'd like a 6-3, but I'd also take a 1-0.
Yes, absolutely, and it's going to be a really decent game of football again, because Hibs will want to try and obviously get points. They went up to Pittodrie at the weekend and lost to a poor Aberdeen team who couldn't get a win for for loving their winning. I think they probably want their chairman to go back in BBC Scotland and shout every week if they can then get victories under their belts. But it's going to be tough. Obviously, we saw Hibs go to one of the other teams in the league and have a man set off. It probably changed their game plan that weekend, Lawrence. But they're still a decent enough side that obviously got to cup final and whatever else last season. But it's been an overhaul for Hibs as a team. We've not played them this season. In terms of starting 11, one of the things I was going to ask you was, Pittodrie, the game that we needed to get the win, we brought in near Beaton into the side, and in some big games, some people would prefer to have the number 6, as we've spoken at great length on here about in the side. Do you see any possible changes to the starting 11, or do you think that Ange just found settled 11?
I think he'll stick with the same. A bit of continuity getting into this will be good. Listen, Hibs have still got danger men there. And
Boyle, Nisbet.
Yeah, Boyle and Nisbet. They definitely taken Nisbet at the beginning of the season. His stock's only risen since then, and Hibs would maybe want too much money from us now for him. We've been rumoured about Boyle a few times, but Ange will know all about Martin Boyle. So I think it's difficult, but I think we'll go in with the same starting 11. I don't see him changing anything for it.
Patrick, do you think he's found his settled 11, or could you see any changes in it this side, or do you even think that possibly again like the weekend there, we'll slip with J. Kamakis up front and Kyogo out in the wing, or do you see a return for Lula Bada?
Well, funnily enough, we were all talking about, does he need to play a number 6, to help with the defence? And, the 3 games, we haven't played a number 6. The last 3 games, we haven't played a number 6, and we've kept clean sheets and barely given up any shots. So I don't see why we change it, and, why change a winning formula? We've won the last 3-4 games, so I'd just stick with the same team. Not only that, I'm not a fan of any of our sort of defensive midfield options at the moment. Sorrell's good for a booking, McCarthy's unfit, and I'm not Beaton's biggest fan, so no, I'd just stick with the same team.
I know you're not Beaton's biggest fan. Lawrence, one of the comments coming in here, thanks again to everybody for commenting on the show. He's speaking about Hibs' style of play. Obviously, they're a team that likes to play football, that likes to have a good goal. That could certainly benefit us tomorrow night, because, on Saturday we're playing a side there against St Johnstone who, 10 men behind the ball, hard to break down, will sit in and don't want to leave any gaps. But if Hibs want to have a go at us, they will leave gaps, and sure, that can only be effective for us.
Definitely. Listen, the weekend, I suppose Davidson, he's managing St Johnstone, he's not there to make entertainment. The first 5 minutes they had a goal, and then, as you said, it's 10, 11 men behind the ball after that until 15, 20 minutes to go, and then they tried 2 up front. If they'd got a point, they would have been happy, wouldn't they? So that's how a lot of teams kind of see it going for them. But, we've also seen teams at Celtic Park play a bit more open against us at the beginning of the season and get absolutely hammered. So I'm hoping we can transfer that to on the road. If teams play open against us, we can actually, score 3 or 4 away, because we've got the players available now. We've got cover at just about every position. So there's no reason, especially the run of form Hibs are in, that we can't take advantage yet just now.
No, there's no reason why not we can't take advantage, because again, as we spoke about earlier on, I think a lot of the time that we've went into some of these games, it's been about, in terms of where they were, and going into that Livingston game, it's probably very easy for that mindset of a difficult venue to go to took over a bit too much. But at this point in time, we see ourselves in a good place. Patrick, something that we asked, and I asked you when we were on international break, obviously it's very difficult to try and keep the conversation going during an international break just because Celtic aren't playing. What's your expectations post-international break and what you actually expected from Celtic? I think tomorrow night's going to be a defining moment in that. Obviously, first part was a very tricky game. Ferencváros very tricky again at home, as was St Johnstone. But I think this one would be the standout one in all of these games. Obviously, I know we're still to travel to Hungary to play in Budapest next Thursday evening. But I think this would probably be one of the points that if you do go and win the game, that you will look back on in the season and see as a really important victory. Yeah,
I mean, I don't think, you don't win a league 8 or 9 games in. I think this is it our 8th or 9th game, I think, in the league. But, Aberdeen is a standout game. This if we win it, will hopefully be a standout game come the end of the season. And it's just an opportunity to, get rid of a horrendous record at Easter Road and really kick on. Really kick on with our...
But it's a really bad record there. Really bad record.
And it's a really good opportunity to kick on away from home, because you're talking about 3 away wins in a row. Hopefully, if both our and Hibs form continues, it'll be 3 away wins with 2 clean sheets and 4 clean sheets in a row or something, and then you've got a game against Livingston at home as well to really build on some brilliant momentum, and then a trip to Hungary, as you say, next Thursday. So no, just again, it's another opportunity really for players to show their ability, show their skill, for Ange to show how far he's taken the team in such a short space of time. An opportunity for guys like Mikey Johnson, Giacomakis, all those guys. And, I think you've just got to treat it as a cup final, but also a massive opportunity.
Yeah, it is a massive opportunity to, put one right there and get the victory that we hope for. But Lawrence, again, as Patrick's touched on there, after Easter Road, the games are coming very thick and fast. We've got Livingston again at Celtic Park. I do imagine that they will come with a very similar approach to St Johnstone and try and sit in and be very hard to break down. Obviously, the weekend, the opener from Giacomakis comes from, a bit of breaking the ball with a shot, and then it falls to him. But again, if you can go to Easter Road and get the victory, you would expect us to do the business against Livingston and get some revenge on them.
Yeah, you're expected to win every home game, aren't you? Livingston away is the tough game, not so much at Celtic Park. Traditionally we are able to take care of them. But we're on form. If we build on that way, we've been at Easter Road. Confidence has got to be sky high amongst the squad then, isn't it? And there's real competition for places now, which is great to see. If Livingston are a wee bit more physical, you've got Giacomakis, there is an option. Maybe Ange fancies Giacomakis with Kyogo sitting just behind him and 2 wingers. I don't know. I suppose we'll know in time. But it's a huge game against Hibs. Gets the monkey off the back of not winning at Easter Road. It continues. If we win, it will continue on a great run of form. We're I think 10 games in. That's the 11th game. It's we're just over a quarter of the way through the season, and we're starting to look like a decent outfit now. I mean, Ange just turned it around really, really quickly. Before we know it, we'll be into the January transfer window, and let's hope the board break with tradition and do spend a bit of cash and back the manager.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that a lot of people were saying after the victory at Pittodrie was that if we could just get to January, see what we can do then, and try and keep ourselves in it. But with the way that we're actually playing at this moment in time, Patrick, you'd like us to be really challenging by that point then, because in the form and some of the football that we're playing, if we can keep everybody fit and we can keep guys like Jota, Kyogo, even Tom Rogic, who's playing out his skin at times for us at this moment in time, if we can keep them on song, there's no reason why we can't be right up there, if not at the very top when it comes to the January transfer window and the break. Yeah,
I mean, we could be, we could be anywhere between 1 point and 7 points behind come 9:30 on Wednesday night. And, if it's still 4, I'd be quite happy with that, personally. Obviously, I'd like it to be 1 point. But we've came out the end of a really, really tough set of fixtures. Bayer Leverkusen, Betis, Rangers, Aberdeen, Hearts, Livingston, Hibs. It's an unbelievable run. And to only be 4 points behind with a new manager and effectively a new squad, it's not the worst position to be in, especially when you're hitting form with a squad that's coming back to full fitness. And then you're looking at a set of fixtures that I wouldn't say are easy, but are probably favourable, because I think you're looking at, Livingston at home, Dundee away, and then after the international break, you've got a semi-final against St Johnstone, and in the mix of all that, a few European games. So again, it's just another opportunity really to sort of build in the momentum, pick up 3 points, home and away, and try and kick on in Europe. And I think people were sort of hoping we'd raid Japan in January, but I think the talk of that in August and September. There's 15 league games between September and January, so I think we did have to really, really hit form with the squad that we had. And if we can build on that come January, I think we could be a frightening outfit come the second half of the season.
Yeah, Lawrence, one of the comments coming in here is you can't get the players we have in the team and you want more, but I think it's more a case of depth, and we did see that, when we did go through that injury crisis at the squad, you need a big squad to go through this whole season with the amount of competitions that we do compete in, as we do need bodies in the door. So we know it's not, we've got a decent enough starting 11, but we're still at this point in time short of a very good squad, aren't we?
Well, we're playing a right back at left back. So, it's we are short in numbers. There's players in the squad, although you maybe want to move out. I think they touched on it yesterday. You maybe want to move Barkas out, Bolly, Ayeti. There's 3 that you could probably want to move, bring the wage bill down and reinvest it in better players. Yeah, I mean, there's talk of Japan bringing players in for there, which will be the end of their season. So I suppose Kyogo will have played a full season by then. We're almost asking them to play like a season and a half. So that, potentially could take its toll on Kyogo and avoid a breakthrough injury there. But anyone we bring in from Japan's going to have to just play the full season as well. I think it's been shown we lack depth, but, we don't have a lot of injured players at the moment. Forrest is maybe a couple of weeks coming back. Julian's rumoured about, maybe a month, and unfortunately, kind of Dembele and Taylor are longer than that. But we don't know. We could easily get another 3 or 4 injuries between now and the transfer window, and we're back to where we were before.
Absolutely.
It is really threadbare. I think Ange just came out and said that. We need more players in. He said that last transfer window. We need to get more in. It says we're going to be better prepared for it this time round. So I'm assuming something's going on in the background. We've been linked with the Japanese boy, the boy from Brazil, and obviously Buchanan down at Derby County at left back.
Yeah, that's one of the links that is coming out. And again, passing on this comment from Will here, he's talking about the right players that fit the system. I think for a lot of Celtic players that have been there previously at the club, and obviously Ryan just came in, or the guys that he's actually brought to the club like Starfelt, other guys that were spoke about, it is there to play a system that maybe a lot of them haven't been suited to, like Starfelt. Celtic at home is going to have a lot of the ball. They're going to move the ball a lot around the back, and just make something that they're not suited to. But if you can get players in that are suited to that, again, the guys around you, will rise to the level as well, because obviously Stephen Welsh has been one of the players that we've seen out the team for a wee while now, but I do imagine if Stephen Welsh does come back into the team, he'll look a lot more comfortable, I would assume, just due to the way in which he's probably training. He'll feel more comfortable playing with the guys that are there. And, in terms of the system that we're speaking about, it is there to see. And if you can add players in that, feel comfortable with playing possession-based football, it can only be good.
Yeah, just on Stephen Welsh, he had that one game against Hamilton Accies, which he played really well, and then his second ever start for Celtic was Rangers at home in that 2-0 loss, and I thought it was a very limited pass with the ball at that time, because he only really passed to Duffy, who was next to him in Frimpong, to his right hand side. But I'd actually say passing is probably his biggest strength now. He's probably the most comfortable passer of the ball at centre half at Celtic. It's his defending that you could probably point to and say, that needs a bit of work. But again, I think he's only 21, 22, so I think he's 21 actually. He's still got, bags of potential, bags of time to develop, and, just on signing players that fit the system, I think, Maeda, the really fast guy in Japan, I think he actually played under is it Yokohama Marinas? So I think he would definitely fit the system. I'm hoping that Ange wouldn't sort of tolerate any players that, he doesn't want. I think you see with Brendan Rodgers, he didn't really want Marvin Compere and just didn't play him. So I'm hoping Ange takes the same approach. If he's getting players that he doesn't want, he should just not play them, because the system works and he needs players that fit the system. So hopefully we do sign the boy Maeda, and a few others from Japan in January.
Just one of these comments coming in here. Julian, we've been Instagram post again from him today. He seems to be there or thereabouts, we hope. I would like to see him come back before this international break, but I would definitely put my neck in the line and say he'll definitely be back after the next international break, but I do hope he returns before then, because he looks as if he's lost the brace and all that stuff that he maybe had on in training, just to give him that wee bit of extra support, and that we will have the big Frenchman back. Lawrence, just quickly before we finish, same starting 11 as Saturday, or any changes for tomorrow night?
No, I think Ange will keep it the same. The team's got to be in good spirits just now. They'll win games. I think he's going to keep it the same. Good thing is, though, he does have options if he does want to change it, doesn't he? He can put Kyogo back up front, but I think from his comments saying, Kyogo's is effective out in the wings. If he believes he's been effective, I think he's going to pick him and play him there. I think he'll stay the same. I mean, that was some finish by Giakoumakis. I mean, Tony Robson really put a lot of pace in that ball, a lot of finishing. Yeah, it's good to see him. If we've got both of them on the park, it's another 2 goal scorers. That they're threats. It's something different that maybe Hibs haven't seen too much of Giakoumakis. So I think he'd unsettle their defence as well. But I don't think Ange will change anything. I think he'll just go with his proven team from the weekend, because that's probably as controlled a performance you've seen against a really good St Johnstone team that are well marshalled. They won 2 cups last year. Davidson's, he's a good manager that sat in deep. He managed to get, a couple of goals. Arguably, a bit of luck. There could have been more. Mikey Johnson was really unlucky. The ball comes back off the post.
Absolutely. Patrick, you've said earlier on that you prefer Kyogo through the middle, but do you think the manager will change it tomorrow night, or do you think we'll see the exact same team?
I think he will change it. I think he'll put Kyogo through the middle and he'll bring Abada back in. And as much as I don't want him to do it, I think he'll probably keep Jovanovic at left back and Ralston at right back. And I think the rest of the team will stay the exact same.
We shall see. As Lawrence said earlier on, trust the process. We do hope the big man gets it right. He's getting it right at this moment, at this point in time. And we hope he continues to get it right. Thank you to everybody, as per usual, for joining in on the comments. It's been very, very busy today. We'll be back. The 3 of us will be back obviously next Tuesday, and the Bulletin will be running tomorrow as per usual, and there'll be pre-match build-up, half-time and post-match. 3 of us will be back to talk about Livingston at the weekend, probably this game at Easter Road, and a build-up to Ferencváros next week. But thanks to everybody for commenting. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Lawrence Connolly, Patrick McGilp, thank you for joining me in a Celtic State of Mind.